Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
It is the Morning Sports Desk on a Monday, the 24th of February. I'm CJ Baumgartner, Corey Tackman over there. This is brought to you by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade, the Morning Sports Desk. Corey, the week we've been talking about, the week we've been hyping up, the week that we've been mentioning nigh on a long time is finally here. It's playoff time.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me?
We made it. We made it. Girls basketball section playoffs this week and state wrestling this week. Now, it's important here, CJ, of course, what we mean by the playoffs are finally here. We don't mean that they haven't started. What we mean by that is our schedule doubles in intensity or triples in intensity over the next 2 weeks because you're going to overlap this week girls basketball playoffs and wrestling coverage and state wrestling. And then next week you overlap girls basketball playoffs and the start of the boys basketball playoffs. So we're in this now like 3 week stretch of we won't know what we're doing the next day till the day before. What are we doing tomorrow? We find out today, kind of a situation. I love it. It's daunting at the beginning. I don't know how you feel, but for me, it's daunting. And then you get into it and then you just get in. It's like, it's really fun. And then when it ends, I always have this moment of like the week after it's over on Tuesday, the week after, I'm like, I gotta get out of here. You just kind of ramp up and you operate on a little different level. Daunting to get into, but once you're in it, it's just the best. The fall playoffs, winter playoffs, spring playoffs are my probably like 6 favorite weeks of the year for work, and I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, exactly. You're just running. You don't know where you're going, and that adds to the fun. Because if you knew like, oh, today I gotta go to Pequot Lakes, and tomorrow I gotta go to Pelican for this game, and then it's a little like daunting because you see everything in front of you. But if you're like, man, I'm going to this place tonight. I don't know where I'm going on Saturday, but who knows? We got 4 different ways we could go, 4 different things to shake out. It's madness. It's why March Madness is so fun, but also it's our own version of March Madness a little bit. There's like, oh my gosh, did you see this team upset? Whoa, they're going to play the next game. We should probably go get to that one. No, like we should go cover that team. Like they're on a roll. And, it's fun to see. Like, obviously, the example is a couple years ago for girls basketball. Wadena Deer Creek made a run to the section final game as a 12 seed in their section. You look at last year, Staples Motley made it to the 7AA semifinals in boys basketball.
Right.
Not that they came out of nowhere, but they had to take off a couple teams that they were ranked lower than and were able to get some upsets to get to that spot. And some other things along the way. I mean, there's always an upset. Verndale last year in boys basketball upset Bertha Hewitt right away. There's a couple things where it's like on night one, you expect most games to go to chalk, and then one doesn't. You're like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, this is kind of upsetting the natural order of things. This will be fun. And there are some pretty fun players in this girls basketball. And by players, I mean like teams. There are some fun teams and schools to watch throughout. You have Wadena Deer Creek, a very experienced unit, Monaga in that section, Perham in that section. Anybody in 8AA 1 through 11 can beat each other, and that's just going to make for a bananas tournament. That's going to be fun. Section 6A in the north and the south subsections are just brutal. New York Mills is a nice team this year. There's some very tough competition in that section, but when they're on a roll, they can compete with anybody. They're a 3 seed in that subsection. You look at 5A, Walker Hackensack Akeley is the 1. They're the defending section champions. Bertha Hewitt, the 2 seed this year. You have some other teams kind of in the mix. Pine River Bacchus has a nice squad this year. And obviously there's other sections. There's other places you can go throughout. I mean, take your pick. It's going to be really, really fun. I mean, section 7AA has Sauk Center as the 1, and Royalton as a 2 seed in 7AA girls is undefeated, but they're a 2 seed. Because Sauk Center is Sauk Center and they're above them, even though they didn't play head-to-head, obviously, throughout the season. So, like, that one's going to be a fun one to kind of see how it plays out. There's a lot of fun basketball that's going to happen over the next couple weeks, and we get to be a part of it. We get to be in the middle of it, and you don't know where you're going to go. And, yeah, it's very fluid. It's very fun, and these are the most important games. The gyms are full, the energy, there is juice. Like, that's nothing against regular season games. I've called a bunch of really fun regular season games, but Corey, you know this, and fans know this. There's something different about a neutral site basketball game on a Saturday night. You just watched a game go before you. If your team wins, that's who you're going to play. And the juice in the gym as everybody gets ready to go for another game. It's just different in the playoffs.
And then, of course, you pile on state wrestling coverage that we're going to have at the end of this week with team and individuals. Let's just do it right now, CJ, I guess. What do we have a plan for the end of the week? What we're going to call, who we're going to see, when we're going to see them?
Yeah, in the middle of drafting up this email right now to kind of send out to staff to kind of let them know our plans. But you know what? Because we like you guys, you're getting to hear it first before any other Hubbard Radio-Wadena employees. So
this is true, by the way. I haven't heard this. You were telling me for the first time.
The email is typed up. It's about ready to send. I just got to double check a couple. But here we go. Somewhere Jen is in a back room just like, what is CJ doing? I need to know. And I value guys. I value Jen a lot. But you know what? Today is a special preview you guys are getting.
Yeah, you're on my whim the next 2 weeks, Jennifer.
And by that, I mean, I'm on your whim. I'll tell you when you look at me and say, I need to know this.
Yes.
Okay, yes, Jen, thank you. But on Thursday, we have no games. Tonight, we have no games. Tuesday or Wednesday, we are gearing up for games and matches Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week. On Thursday, February 27th, starting on this superstation, K106, that's 105.9 FM, streaming online at WadenaRadio.com, or the superstation K106 mobile app. Wadena Deer Creek at Holly, an 8-9 matchup in the Section 8AA girls basketball tournament. That'll be in Holly. Wadena Deer Creek will go there, and it's a 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock tip-off on the superstation K106. I'll be on the call for that one. And then, of course, the morning of, we got state team wrestling. The 2 seed Staples Motley Cardinals taking on the random draw United North Central Warriors from the XL Energy Center in St. Paul. Dan and Kyle are on the call. As always, they do a great job. They will be ready to roll. And that will be about an 8:30 pregame with a 9 o'clock match start as Kyle and Dan get you ready for a full day of team wrestling. We will have consolation matchups right after, semifinal matchups right after, potentially championship games, semifinal champions, a lot of stuff. We are going to be following United North Central and Staples Motley all day long, so be ready for that. That is what's coming up on Thursday. You can listen to that, of course, on 101.7 FM, AM 920 KWAD, or online at WadenaRadio.com/KWAD. So looking at everything with this, I think that it's going to be really fun. I'm super excited for this. Obviously, we're going to know Saturday when we know Saturday. So that'll happen. But in the meantime, we got a full matchup. And then, of course, on Friday, there's going to be state wrestling all day long for individuals. Saturday is going to be state wrestling all day long for individuals. All that's going to be on KWAD all day long from like 8 to 8, pretty much all day. Kyle and Dan are going to be clocking in some hours along with our great board up Tammy. So we got a lot of stuff there. And then whatever section girls basketball games we catch on Saturday, we will let you know about on Friday. But it is a busy time.
Yep, we're off and running. It's officially happening, and some special things obviously in the works for state wrestling here on the morning sports desk as this week rolls along. So you're going to want to keep an ear out and an eye out for that wherever it is you get morning sports desk, whatever your podcast platform is. And of course on YouTube, just search Hubbard Radio-Wadena.
All right, Corey, why don't we thank the good sponsors of this program, Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena.
Another good time to remind you, of course, that you can triple the fun when you triple your visits to the FunZone Arcade. Earn 1,000 free FunZone tickets when you play, buy, or reload 3 times by the end of April. What does that mean? What is a qualifying visit, CJ, you're wondering? Well, you play. Stop by the FunZone to play your favorite games. You buy a new FunZone card at the FunZone or online. You reload the card you already have at the FunZone. or online. You play, you buy, you reload. You do it 3 times by the end of April, and you've got 1,000 free FunZone tickets to your account. Become a FunZone Rewards member. Become a Ranch Rewards member when you swing into the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena.
All right, Corey, a little bit of update on the Minnesota Timberwolves. They lost yesterday to the Oklahoma City Thunder, 124-130. I just got a grievance here. I got to air with the NBA format. So first of all, the Minnesota Timberwolves play the Oklahoma City Thunder, 8:30 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. A little later, but okay, fine. We're the Western Conference teams, even though both teams are in the Central Time Zone. Okay. But the game didn't actually start till like 8:50 because the Cavs and Knicks game or whatever, Cavs and Grizzlies that was going on before went late, and ESPN can't have a game start on ESPN2 or ESPN News or anything. So the game had to wait. And so they get done with that game at about 11:30 last night. Oh, and by the way, Corey, both teams are on a back-to-back. They are going to play each other in Oklahoma City tonight. Why would you schedule it like that? So that's NBA scheduling. That's ESPN scheduling. That's just annoying. I guess both teams have to do it. So that's the only kind of solace in that fact of everybody's going to suck tomorrow night or tonight together. So everybody's doggone tired. Apparently the Wolves beat the Thunder back home, back to OKC. So that'll be interesting.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So anyway, that is my one grievance. But the other thing is my second grievance is that the Wolves are a really fun basketball team when things are going right. Jalen Clark is really fun to watch defensively. And he was out the last 10 minutes or so of the game. It was really important when he was off the floor because he's a good defensive pace setter. He comes up with a lot of steals, can make a 3 or 2. He's like blossoming into a very nice 3-and-D player for the Minnesota Timberwolves before our very eyes. My one problem is, though, the Wolves in clutch time situations, Corey, are not good. In fact, they're downright bad. They're in the bottom half of the league in clutch time rating. What is that? Well, it's basically just how well does your team do? What's your plus minus essentially in the final 3 or 4 minutes of a game? Timberwolves are bottom half of the league in that. And you saw it again on Friday night against the Houston Rockets. They were in that game, had some leads back and forth in the fourth quarter. In the final 4 minutes, the Rockets were able to go on a run and the Wolves offensively dried up. And the Rockets were able to win. And then on Sunday night, the Wolves played a great game. They were able to get all the way to a back and forth with a lead in the Thunder in the fourth quarter. And then all of a sudden, Oklahoma City pulls out like a 12-2 run in an instant in the final 3 minutes, and you lose. And that's the biggest thing with this Wolves team. And there's a bunch of different factors. Sometimes it's luck, like we talk about with the Vikings in one-score games. Sometimes the coin just goes your way. It's a little bit of preparedness with Anthony Edwards' shot selection, with just the team overall and whatever, the offensive output ability. There's a lot of things you could blame it on. That diagnosis is for another day. But the main thing is that the Wolves want to get to where they want to be, which their talent level indicates they can. They have to figure out how to become a more consistent team in the final 3 minutes.
I don't know where you said they're in the bottom half of this clutch rating. My guess is they're in the bottom half of the bottom half also. Like they're not like, oh, if they just played a little better, they would be in the top half of the league. It feels, and I don't know, you don't even need to tell me the number. Here's what I can tell you from watching the last 2 games, Houston and OKC. I basically haven't seen the Timberwolves make a shot in the final 180 seconds of either of those games. They brick everything. They turn the ball over, and I mean they're just not going in. They look like a different basketball team over the final 180 seconds. I got to be honest. I'm pretty fed up with the Anthony Edwards flying into the lane at full speed and crashing to the ground and not getting a foul call. And then jogging next to the official all the way down the floor, berating the official for not getting the foul call while the other team has numbers going the other direction and getting an automatic bucket. That's happened twice in the last 2 games. And each of those times he has gotten a technical foul. He leads the NBA in technical fouls with 14. If it happens again tonight, I'm going to throw my remote through the television.
I think we'll get suspended if it happens one more time.
Anthony Edwards, God bless him. You haven't done anything yet, brother.
Right. Like, I mean,
you haven't done anything yet.
The other thing is too, like, and okay, well, he wants to shoot more, but how many times do you watch him dribble at the top of the key and you're like, he's going to step back. 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 And he step backs and clanks it off the back of the rim. And if I know what's happening, me, casual Wolves fan, the guy who's watching tape on Anthony Edwards because he's going to guard him knows, oh, hey, Anthony Edwards is going to do a step back here. Like, and again, Ant's been a much better three-point shooter. His game has gotten a lot better in that regard. He's really good three-point shooter right this year. Best he's ever been. But again, it's the shot selection. It's the times when you're going to put your head down and go through the middle of the lane. It's still trying to figure out the maturity of when do I shoot this shot. And every once in a while, and it's not, Ant had a habit early in his career of early in shot clocks. He was just going to throw up a three. That's gotten a little better, but in terms of getting a better shot, it quite hasn't, because he'll still pick a bunch of ill-advised shots that are low percentage in big moments. If you look at the NBA's clutch time rating, in terms of wins, the Wolves are like tied with a bunch of teams kind of in the middle of the pack for clutch time wins. That's because the Wolves are more talented than a lot of other teams in the NBA. But if you look at net rating in clutch time, which again is final 3-4 minutes of a game, the Wolves are 28th in the NBA at negative 12.8. The only teams that are worse in clutch time, Corey, the Utah Jazz at 21 even, below
who stink,
and the Washington Wizards at negative 21.1.
Who stink.
Now, there's a considerable gap between you and those teams, but the fact that you are in that territory with those teams and how you play in the final minutes, I mean, Corey, think of if the Wolves even are league average in clutch time situations, they're like competing for a 4 seed or a 3 seed in the NBA this year. They're fighting once again to stay out of the play-in tournament. Annoying.
Yeah, no, they I've never seen a team heat check without having made a shot before. It's a very interesting thing to watch. Like there's not a I don't feel like I see a like this is a shot in the offense, or it doesn't matter if it's early in the shot clock. That's not the point. There's only 24 seconds. By the time you get the ball up the floor anyway, like there's just not that much time. I understand. But it feels like at times they try to heat check, or like maybe the equivalent would be like in baseball, you're down by 5. So you're leading off the inning and try to hit a 5-run home run. You can't. That's not how that game is set up to work. Basketball doesn't work. You can't just like, hey, some discipline, some maturity is required when you feel things start to slip away. You can't just throw up a heat check 3 to squash somebody else's momentum. Also, you've missed your last 4 shots in a row. You're 0 for your last 4 trips down the floor. A little maturity, a little discipline, a little something. I don't know. They're a strange watch sometimes, still to this day. And we've talked about it. It's the thing for him. It's the thing for Ant to figure out. That's it.
It's the next step. Anyway, Wolves, based on how we're talking, the Wolves are either going to get blown up by 30 or they're going to win tonight somehow. It's just how it's going to be. This is the Minnesota Timberwolves experience. All right, Corey, one more thing. Minnesota Twins ownership update. Justin Ishbia, the guy who is the front runner to buy the Minnesota Twins. By all accounts, by all media, in terms of media, his name was the only one that had popped up. The fan base had kind of preordained that Ishbia was going to buy the team.
Yeah. In
our conversations on the sports desk, I've mentioned he's the front runner. I've mentioned he would be the guy. We've talked about it, but I've also mentioned it's like just as the devil's advocate part is like, there also could be other names. Like, it's not like this is the only guy on a tee, whatever. But by all accounts, and especially now considering this recent news, he was I think he was like on a tee. He was on a fast track, on a bullet, whatever word you want to use, whatever euphemism, whatever. He was pretty much set to become the next Twins owner. It was all about just getting an actual exact number and then signing some papers. And then all of a sudden, the Chicago White Sox, whom Justin Ishbia owns a very minority stake in, announced that it leaked through that they were going to allow him to buy a considerable stock in the team. They have not said, the White Sox, that it is a path to ownership, but if you're Ishbia, you're only taking it because it would give you a path to ownership. Ishbia tried to buy the White Sox a few years ago from Reinsdorf. Reinsdorf does not want to sell the White Sox. He basically said he's going to own the team until he dies, and then he has advised the kids to sell the team. So if you're Ishbia, this essentially gives you you're going to have so much ownership stake in the team that once Reinsdorf passes, you are going to be kind of the guy left standing with the most capital and the most ability to buy even a little bit of stock from the Reinsdorf family, which will allow you to control the team. All this is a long-winded way of saying at the 11th hour, the Twins were used as leverage for Ishbia to get more ownership in the Twins' arch rival. So
that's exactly right. Now, some of the things that you talked about here, Ishbia was the only public name.
Yes.
We now know he's the one who leaked his name.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one to use this as leverage for the White Sox, which good on him.
And maybe he was serious about buying the Twins, but also if I win, I buy the Twins. Cool. If the White Sox want to give me more ownership, that's also an equal opportunity door. So,
sure. But the point is that he was the only name we heard about, but it has also been reported that he's not the only name, right? There are multiple names in the, weren't there double-digit names was the story at one point?
That was what we believe in December, yeah.
So that is what we were told. That was those were official reports that came in. There's also another report that said we're going to know who the new owner is by opening day. That still is over a month away.
And now that date is now it's going to get it.
But I'm just saying, I understand. I'm getting to all of this.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. So getting caught up on the Ishbia part of this was, he was just the only name that was out there. We now know that he leaked his own name. Right. So that way he could leverage the Twins a little bit. But what has come out in the rumor mill since then is that maybe the Pohlads decide they're not going to sell.
That's all options are on the table.
Which sucks.
Right. And now after listening, the Gleeman and the Geek podcast, Dan Hayes, who helped break the story with The Athletic, was talking about it. He seemed pretty confident the team will still be sold. Just it might not be ownership might not be announced on opening day. The sale might not happen by the 4th of July. Essentially you kind of, not that you have to go back from scratch, but Ishbia, the Pohlads, based on the reporting, the Pohlads were pretty confident that Ishbia, they were going to sell the team to Ishbia. And they were just kind of in the final, they were about to ramp up the final processes up until the 11th hour when the White Sox came in and did what they did. Because if you're the White Sox, if you're the White Sox, they want to build a new stadium, Ishbia buying more ownership of the team means he will likely put more money. You can use him to be all right, Ishbia, welcome into the new echelon of ownership. Now help us pony up because we're going to go try and put a down payment on a new stadium.
And what's your business? Because you can have first naming rights or what.
Right, exactly.
And also he's looking at all of them in the face. He's saying, if I buy the Twins, I'm going to bury you guys.
Right. And he has also got a business based in Chicago. That's where he lives. So Of course he wants to own the team in Chicago. Anyway, there's a lot of, the point is, a lot of the reporting is said the team will still be sold, likely still be sold. But yes, there is an option that the Pohlads just go, you know what? This has kind of gotten weird. Let's wait until next season. We're going to hit a pause button, whatever. Artie Moreno did that with the Angels. He was going to sell the Angels. Now, there wasn't a serious bidder that had emerged publicly, but he kind of had the team on the market for a little bit and then said, nah, just kidding. I'm still going to own the team. And the Angels still are one of the worst, not just the worst teams in baseball, one of the worst run teams in baseball. So, yeah, that's still on the table, but it still feels like the team will be sold. They just kind of have to go back. It's like you're selling a home, right? You thought this one person was going to buy your house. You were all set on that happening. And then at the 11th hour, the house the guy actually wanted to buy, he was able to strike a deal with them. So now you have to go to the second and third options after they already kind of have the idea. Not that anybody was told you're not buying the team. But like, you can read the writing on the wall. And if you're reading the papers and if you're reading everything, if you're a other potential ownership group, and again, with buying a house, like, you're like, I don't know, based on the way we talked with this guy and based on the things, like, there's probably not a good chance we get it. We haven't heard from them in forever. And all of a sudden this comes out, and then, the good news is the price probably just went down a little bit for the potential buyer, because now the one name that we knew about is basically out of it. No, it's not. Whatever. The Timberwolves have just gone through this whole ordeal with Glenn Taylor, and it's just a mess. It's just a messy. No wonder the Twins didn't do anything as far as bringing in players, because they have no idea what's happening. Like, they can't even figure out how to sell this stupid team. And it's the same thing with the Timberwolves. It is, whether it's right or wrong, in the Karl Anthony Towns business, but like, you get out of the Karl Anthony Towns business, one of the main reasons is because you don't know who's in charge and who's going to be writing the checks anymore. And does a new guy want to spend that second apron luxury? Like, it just turns this into an organizational. This is the kind of stuff that sets you back for half a decade. Right. And the other thing is too, with all of this, like, these are big negotiations. Like, with the Twins, they gave out Harrison Bader money and money to go get Danny Colome and money to go get, like, again, not super high free agents, but the Twins did spend above last year's payroll and a little bit higher than we all were expecting them, because I think the Pohlads thought, yeah, sure, we'll write the checks for the beginning, because at the end of the year, we're not going to be the ones writing them anymore. Who cares? And now that potentially is on the table. So, yeah, but like, the other thing is, these are purchases between billionaires. And billionaires get to be billionaires because they're shrewd businessmen who like to leverage and do all this kind of, like, so the fact that things take weird turns, it's why, again, with ownership, everybody was preordaining Ishbia. And not that I was against it, but I was just one of the people who was like, I'm going to wait. Like, I'm not going to assume this guy's going to be the owner until it actually happens, because these are billionaire businessmen who back out of deals at the last second all the time. The Timberwolves sale is proof of that. If you don't think it's financially viable for you to do it, you're going to back out and you don't care how you're going to look. And that's the same thing with Ishbia. He's going to get the White Sox. He doesn't care how this is going to look, although he will search his name on Twitter and randomly like random tweets from nobodies in the middle of central Minnesota. So that's a little weird. Amazing. It's amazing. But either way, my main point on this, and then I'm done with the Ishbia stuff. In the end, I think the Twins will get sold. And just because it's not to Ishbia, it doesn't mean whoever buys the team is going to be a bad owner. And it's no guarantee that Ishbia is going to be a great owner. He's not his brother. His brother is the main owner of the Suns. But Corey, the Phoenix Suns are a mess right now, because he came in, made a bunch of big splashes, and they didn't work out. And now the team is kind of in a mess right now. That's not to say he would have done the exact same thing with the Twins, but it's to say, like, nobody's for certain that the Ishbia brothers are like, nobody's saying that the Ishbia brothers are like stable owners like the Wilfs or something like that. No, but they're also, there's nothing that says they're not going to be stable owners either, right? Like, this is not what's important here is that to know that at least the brother was the kind of person who was willing to make a splash. Now we learn what kind of businessman he is and how they adjust and what sorts of, now this is where the shrewd emotional decision making happened. Now shrewd decision making needs to happen, and then we actually find out about the brother. You assume the same thing that would happen with whoever the new Twins owner is, and it's important to note that the Ishbias are a known rich name. Mm-hmm. Whoever's buying the Twins is going to be very rich also. They're going to have a ton of money, and we won't know until they've been owners for a half a decade or farther down the line, how good owners they are. Because will they make an emotional move right away to try to make an impact? Sure. If it works, unbelievable. If it doesn't, how are they going to adjust to that? Right. Exactly. I mean, Steve Cohen bought the Mets, and his very first thing was to go sign Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. Those deals didn't work out. He ate the money to trade them, but you know what he did do? He paid up and got Juan Soto in the building. Like Ballmer and the Clippers, like all the things that he did to try to get them on the map, including building a new arena is kind of the last ditch thing. Like
it's just there's gonna be an emotional move by whoever buys the team next, unless it's Pohlad, a first cousin or something, and then there will be a reckoning for that decision, good or bad, in about 4 years.
Exactly. We'll figure all of it out. The point is, there was no guarantee he was going to be a great owner, and there was no guarantee that like the next group of people who buy the Twins will be awful or be just like the Pohlads or whatever. Like, the point is, we don't know. It lets a little air out of the balloon, but I'm not sitting here like this doesn't impact my viewing of the 2025 Minnesota Twins. I think
it only impacts my opinion if the Pohlads don't sell.
Exactly.
That's the only thing out of this that will make me, as I mentioned in our text thread this weekend, make a beeline towards the ocean and never stop walking. I'm walking straight into the ocean.
Exactly. So, all right, let's wrap things up here, Corey. We got an Immaculate Grid Monday. As I pull this up, Corey, explain to the good folks at home what an Immaculate Grid is.
Immaculate Grid looks like a tic-tac-toe board, 3 categories across the top, 3 down the side. You try to find a player who matches at each intersecting square of the grid. So across the top, and then you can try to go for a crazy low score. The lower the score, the better. Sometimes called a sicko score. If we can get a sicko score, we will. Otherwise, we will happily in this game take a layup. So across the top, we've got the Phillies, the Blue Jays, and 300 plus homers for the career batting. And then down the side, we have the Astros, the Athletics, and played third base for a minimum of 1 game. So again, wherever they intersect on the grid, we'll try to find a player who matches that spot. What do you think?
Here we go. I'm already going to take square number 1. That's Hunter Pence. We learned that last week.
Sure. Yeah. Shout out Hunter Pence.
Pence.
Love Hunter Pence.
I'm going to also steal this other square because I do know this. Trevor Plouffe played for the Phillies on the last team of his career, and he was the third baseman.
Okay. Love it.
We're going to go our good old boy Plouffe.
Good. I like it.
Did Shane Victorino play for the A's? Because that would be a Philly A, I feel like.
I don't know, but you could put Ricky Henderson in for the A's Blue Jays.
A's Blue Jays, of course. That's a free space in the middle.
We'll take the free space on the board.
Right, I forget Ricky spelled the other.
Yeah, Ricky's a weird one. EY.
Yeah, there you go. Bam.
Okay,
a Blue Jay played a minimum of 1 game at third base. Edwin Encarnacion.
Yeah, sure. I don't care. If who's their current third baseman? Robin Ventura, did he play there?
Maybe. Did Frank Thomas ever play there?
No, yeah. Played third base. All right, that's our hard one, right? Played third base for 1 game and has 300 plus home runs for a career. Yeah. Is that a hard one?
Alex Rodriguez.
Oh yeah, it's not a hard one at all, is it?
I know. Now that it's like I don't know, because you're like third baseman, like, oh wait, third baseman, yes. 100%.
Oh yeah, no, this is not hard at all.
Okay, nice. Look at us. We are plowing through this one here. Now is where we're kind of going to get stuck in. A's with 300 plus career batting. I mean, that's Frank Thomas, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine by me. You could do Mark. You could do Mark McGwire.
We'll do McGwire. How about that? Mark.
Sure.
McGwire. There we go.
Love it.
I love it that they got him in the A's hat for this and not the Cardinals.
Yeah, no kidding.
You could have won Giambi, I guess, too, but I don't know how many home runs Giambi finished with.
I'll look it up while we figure out pick anybody for Houston, I guess. Did Jeff Bagwell hit 300 home runs?
Ooh, that's a good question. Altuve's definitely gotten to 300 by now, right?
Home runs?
Yeah.
No way. No way. Who was I going to look up?
You were going to look up Jason Giambi. But like thinking of my Philly and A.
No, Altuve does not have 300 home runs.
For the sake of looking it up. For the
All
sake
right, we're going to look it up, but we're not. So that means we're not going to use it.
Yeah.
Even if he does, we're not using it.
He has 229 in his career. So he's close.
He is close.
He'll get it sometime next season. Most likely. Nah, maybe next season, but at the very least in 2027, he'll get there.
Sure.
Depends on how many buzzers they give him, I guess.
Giambi is 440 for his career.
Yep.
I mean, to me, I guess the answer for Houston is Bagwell, maybe like Carlos Beltran or something.
Oh yeah, Beltran maybe. Okay, Bagwell or Beltran? Who do you feel more confident in?
Oh, Bagwell.
Here we go, Corey. Bam. There he is in all this glory.
Now I want to look up Carlos Beltran and how many home runs he hit.
Carlos Beltran ended up finishing why would I want his minor league statistics? Carlos Beltran ended up finishing with 435 in his career.
Holy smokes, a lot. He's only 5 less than Giambi. That's way more than Bagwell, I'm guessing.
Wait, it has to be. But Bagwell's got the name recognition. Nobody remembers Carlos Beltran for being an Astro, unless it's like
they should. He was awesome with them.
Unless they think of like the year where they won the World Series and he was on the roster.
Yeah, dude, I loved Carlos Beltran.
I was thinking Carlos Beltran as a Met personally. 449
for Beltran, so I was wrong. Or for Bagwell. Bagwell is 449, so he had 14 more home runs.
50%, I guess.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt our sicko score a lot. 2 more grids to an Immaculate.
A lot of PED users on our board today.
Hey.
Alleged.
Baseball Reference didn't take him off, so why should we?
Alleged.
Known alleged juicer Trevor Plouffe. I mean,
all right, who's an Astro Philly?
We already did an Astro Philly. That was Hunter Pence.
Oh, an Astro Blue Jay. Forgive me.
An Astro Blue Jay. There's got to be some kind of pitching thing, right? Scherzer never pitched for the Astros. I don't think he pitched in Canada either. Now that I think about it, maybe he did. I don't know. It doesn't matter. He pitched for the Rangers. That's what I was thinking of.
These are the 2 hardest. Do you have an A's Phillies?
An A's Philly. I mean, like, I'm kind of thinking of like the A's run through middle infielders, so I'm trying to think of like
Marco Scutaro.
Yeah, right. Marco Scutaro, like a Shane Victorino. So one of those kind of players where it's like they just play for everybody, or like
it'd probably almost have to be someone
or something.
Yeah, someone almost guaranteed that is someone who started with the A's and went to the Phillies.
Right.
At least as recent history goes.
Good with the Phillies and washed out and somehow ended up on the A's.
Right.
Because like Cliff Lee, Cole Hamill, they like never played there. Some of the big names you think of certainly didn't go there. So my mind feels like it's got to be some kind of a pitcher is probably the play, and it's probably like some kind of relief pitcher somewhere.
Did any of the old school guys, old school, actual old school baseball fans are gonna be mad, but like, did Tim Hudson play there? Did he? I know he went to the Atlanta. Did Barry Zito? Did he go to the Phillies? Did Mark Mulder? Did he go to the Phillies?
Right.
Some of those guys.
I'm trying to think of guys who were on like their
Jason Isringhausen.
Oh yeah, Jason Isringhausen. I too watched the movie Moneyball.
I liked him.
Did
he? I mean, was there a guy? Did Pena? Who are some of the big Moneyball names? That might not be a bad place to start.
Scott Hatteberg, we could throw in there. I think he was with Boston in the movie.
Yeah.
Scott Kazmir, did he ever play for?
I don't know.
This is now we've run into this is our lull here.
Danny Valencia.
Yeah, he played for
He played for the A's for sure. Did he play for Philly?
I know he played for Toronto.
Baltimore. He played for Baltimore.
Yep.
How about
I was a big Danny Valencia believer back in the day. How about like Ben Revere? He didn't play for anybody. He played for the Phillies and the Blue Jays, I think, which doesn't help us. This is hard. The A's are always hard for some reason.
Yeah, and I'm trying to go back to like when I grew up, and of course I'm just drawing Billy Butler. Did Billy Butler play for the Phillies?
No, but he did play with Oakland, I remember.
How about Jason Kendall?
That's a name, man. Jason Kendall.
Yeah, I mean, he came from he went. I think he went from Pittsburgh to Oakland.
Yeah,
but I don't know if that's where it ended.
Like, I mean, Russell Martin, I know, played for. He kind of bounced around a little bit.
Coco Crisp, did he do anything?
Ooh, Coco.
Philadelphia.
He was, yeah, because he was with Oakland and Boston and Kansas City. I don't know if he really was ever there.
Started with Cleveland. He was on. It was him and Milton Bradley in the outfield.
Yep, that's right. Oh man, this is annoying. Jeff Samardzija, did he ever play for Philadelphia? Because he got traded to Oakland, and then I know he went to.
Samardzija was with the Cubs and the Giants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh.
That's right. This is annoying.
How about Houston, Toronto? Do we have anybody there? Is it easier to try to pull something here?
Some players, like trying to think of who is on some of those good Houston teams. Like, George Springer.
Boom.
Boom. There we go.
Good. Take the layup.
Okay.
Now we only can focus on one thing. This is good.
This is our immaculate grid.
Goodness gracious.
It always happens every single time. It's just one.
A's, Phillies.
Ugh. A's, Philly, A Philly.
Did Reggie Jackson play for Phillies ever?
That's a good question. I want to say it was probably just
Oakland Yankees.
Yeah.
By the way, is this a story, or is it about damn time that the Yankees are going to let their guys have beards? It's not really a story, right? This is stupid that it is a story.
It's stupid that it is a story, yeah. But the best analysis I've gotten from it is somebody said new Seinfeld episode where George Costanza determines what is a well-groomed beard.
Yeah, I do like that.
That would be a good episode. Well, it's not a well-groomed beard, Jerry. You see, he's got the hair that starts to curl a little bit. Curl. And then Kramer pops out of nowhere and says, guess who just got a date with Sydney Sweeney? and that's the episode. That's pretty much it.
This is really, what's that?
Really annoying, Corey.
You just thought of it?
It's Trevor Plouffe. Trevor Plouffe is our A Philly, and we burned him up on the third base with the Phillies.
Oh, funny.
God dang it.
That's funny.
That's the one. He played for both of them.
All right. Well, now we have to think real hard.
Oh, darn it, Trevor.
I know. This is a good lesson learned. You can't get willy-nilly on some of these names.
I know. You got to think through them.
I'm trying to think. This is hard because I'm trying to think about those teams that were always really good with the Twins. And now, of course, my head draws a complete blank.
There's no one.
This is.
I could. Eric Chavez. Did he play for the Phillies ever?
I mean,
he was the third baseman for Oakland. I'm just trying to go around the horn here as much as I can.
Yeah. Who, like Oakland?
How about like Eric Burns?
Oh yeah, the guy who used to be on MLB Network for a little bit.
BY. Did he play for Philly? I have Kansas City in my head for him. In Oakland for some reason. Did he play for Philly?
It's a good question.
How about Jermaine Dye? Did Jermaine Dye play for Philly?
Did Bartolo Colon ever play for Philly?
I mean, probably.
Bartolo. I mean, at a certain point, we might just have to make a call on something.
If I were to pick any of those names that we've gone through, I would pick Eric Burns. And of all of those names that we've just said, that would be the one I would pick.
Sure.
But that's, I mean, is there one you feel particularly confident in?
No, I feel equally unconfident, but mainly just because I'm just drawing such a blank, and it's going to annoy me when we eventually look up whoever fits this criteria, and it's just going to make me mad because we're missing somebody. And again, Zeke is probably listening to this, screaming a name, and we have no idea.
Yeah, well, screw you, Zeke. You're somewhere warmer than here. This doesn't who. All right, let's give it 60 more seconds.
Okay.
To see if we're inspired. Again, I would maybe throw out Marco Scutaro as a potential here.
Oh yeah, Marco.
This is very annoying. I just cannot think of I just can't. Those Oakland teams were just all over the Twin. Like those two teams were rivals.
Exactly.
In that era, and now I can't think of anyone.
I mean, trying to go down the line of like trying to go down my line of Moneyball players is not really working out for me.
No.
This is so annoying.
It's got to be a white shortstop,
like Sean Doolittle or something.
I don't know. I don't.
And
they had a little second baseman too. Oakland did that. I can't remember his name.
This is really bothering me. Grant Balfour.
I have no idea. It's the A's, the most irrelevant team since 2002, and the Phillies, an National League team.
Right. It's
unless Scott Rowland played for them, or Ryan Howard ended his career there, or Chase Utley ended his career, or something like that.
Right.
I just don't think I'm gonna.
No, I think we just gotta make a call.
So I've narrowed it down between Eric Burns and Marco Scutaro.
I think
I'll let you pick. I feel equal about both of them.
Let's go Marco Scutaro because that one's more fun to say.
It's way more fun. It's one of the all-time great names.
Great name. Here we go for all the marbles. Gosh,
dang it.
Darn it. That's so frustrating. I'm looking this up. Oakland Athletics, who played for...
Yeah, wouldn't have gotten that one. I'm looking it up right now, too.
Cross-referencing Jimmy Fox, Nap Lagery, Joe Morgan.
131 of them. Oh, your uncle Stan Baumgartner did.
Oh, great. How could I forget about old Stan?
This loss falls on you, CJ. When your uncle played for both franchises and you couldn't even remember.
Darn it. I didn't even know.
Joe Blanton. Joe Blanton is the name we both should have known.
Ron Gant. Jeremy Giambi.
Yeah, shoot. I forgot about
There's the one Moneyball name I didn't think of.
Yeah.
Oh, darn it. Yeah, running down this line, it's pretty. Brandon Moss. There's another name. Pat Neshek pitched for both of them.
AJ Hinch
played for both of them.
Oh, shoot. That's annoying.
This is now this is just darn right. Mike Sweeney played for both of them. Cesar Tovar.
There's John Mabry. That would have been a good name. Bevo Laborvo in 1929. Bevo Laborvo. What a name.
That's the player Zeke is like, why didn't you guys get him?
How did you not get Bevo Laborvo or Stuffy McInnes?
Darn it. All right. Well, I suppose we've been on here long enough. We probably need to wrap her up.
I hate this game.
This game is so frustratingly good. Until next week, Morning Sports Desk, Pizza Ranch, FunZone Arcade in Wadena. See you tomorrow.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.